So we're officially live now.
We're live.
We're live. Let's get unlike traditional radio or podcasting, we have to give a few minutes for people to actually jump in since I've tweeted out the link.
We're doing it live.
Oh. All right. Let's see. All right. So check. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Ready? Go. Hey guys, welcome. This is the Dr. Death Show here on a YouTube Live. I hope you guys are enjoying the eye candy that you are getting right now. Joining me is my co-host who's co-hosted with me on the Dr. Death Show on Blog Talk Radio, which you, the listener, probably used to listening to on Blog Talk Radio /Dr. Death Show. We brought this over to YouTube to give you some eye candy, talk about it being the relocation saga. Before we get into everything, I'd like to introduce you, Ed Toomey. Ed, man, how's it going, man? How have you been since that dreadful day of that date that will live in infamy in East Bay sports?
Do you remember that movie Shawshank Redemption?
You know what? I've heard of it.
Well, maybe your viewers have seen Shawshank Redemption. At the end of the movie, Shawshank Prison is they have a bunch of prisoners there, and one of the prisoners escapes through a pipe full of human waste, and spends all his time going through the tube to escape the prison. And finally, he's out and free, and he puts his hands up and goes, "Ah!" That's how I feel. I feel relieved. I'm thankful. Don't have this burden with being a Raider, follower or whatever.
You know how many people are literally cringing, rolling their eyes, really about to turn this off because they don't want to hear an adversarial point of view. There's a lot of people out there, not all, but there are quite a few people who are not willing to listen to something being an opposing view of theirs. You have to be Raider through and through, no matter what, at all costs. They're about to turn that X or get out of this because they don't want to listen to you.
Okay, until those people pay my bills or whatever, that's okay. The Raiders don't pay my bills. They're just a form of entertainment, and I'm moving on. So I have moved on. Not moving on. I have moved on. This is just entertainment, talking with you, and
Yeah, no, totally. Here's another thing too, and this is one of the reasons why I wanted to come on here, is because as you're well aware, Ed, and you've been on my podcast before, you've seen my periscopes. I've been doing periscopes and tweeting in increments, taking pieces of this entire relocation saga. This relocation saga, which consists of 4+ years, right? So doing a periscope in 10 minutes, I don't think it really does it justice, nor does it do this 45-minute vlog, I guess. But I figured it's been 2 months since the relocation saga, and I want to get into it. I want to talk about it incrementally.
Sure.
Okay. So first, one of the topics is, what the hell happened? Was there any point in time, Ed, that you think at any point in time that this whole situation could have been saved? If there was, looking back in hindsight, looking at all the meetings that we went to dealing with the JPA, the Joint Powers Authority, who represents both the city and the county, or the county, or the city, the A's, the Raiders, us, the NFL. At what point do you think was a turning point that you think meaning the Raiders, could have been saved?
Going back, I mean, I've been, I can't say that I haven't followed it. I followed a little bit, but I've dedicated a lot of my life to the relocation saga. So I kind of just did kind of an analysis and look back on what exactly that question on when could it have been saved, knowing what I know now. And I honestly think, going back all the way to Levi Stadium, I honestly think Levi Stadium is the reason why the Raiders are out of here. Them not wanting to go to Levi Stadium and then having to build another football stadium in the market to compete with Levi Stadium, I think they couldn't do it, no matter what Oakland did.
Do you think Do you think, though, that they being Mark Davis, used Levi's as an excuse to manipulate getting out of here? Because I think, in my opinion, there was many opportunities to build a stadium here in Oakland, but because of the ineptitude with Mayor Libby Schaaf, Mayor Gene Kwan, the county, and the NFL, but most importantly, and I know people are going to say, Dr. Death, I can't believe you, and you're going to quiver and quake when I say this. The ineptitude of leadership of Mark Davis failing to be unconventional and utilizing the resources to get a stadium deal done here, whether there was Levi's there or not. Because I think, and you tell me if you disagree with me, even with a stadium being Levi's built in Santa Clara, and two, that stadium didn't get rave reviews either, right? So the Raiders had the opportunity, the golden opportunity, to build a more polished, what's the terminology I'm looking for? More homely, right? That is more Bay Area centric with mass transportation, and there being a lot of resources to get it done.
I disagree with that.
I mean, okay. So and this is why I wanted to invite you, right? So we're all centering this, and you tell me if I'm wrong here, right? This is all centered around Mark Davis wanting to get the hell out of here. If we had, I know we're using a lot of ifs, right? Because there's a point in this. If there was any owner that was a billionaire with a B, other than Mark Davis, would they still have moved?
I think they'd have probably moved to Levi.
Okay, so we're making progress here, right? So they would have at least moved to Levi, but not out of the market.
Yeah, I don't think they would have moved out of the market.
Okay.
What I do think is there is the supply and demand. There's going to be, once the A's build their ballpark and the Warriors build their arena, there's enough, if we're only counting game day events, you could have all these arenas and stadiums. But the reason why Vegas is trying to pencil out, or what everyone thinks, it's all about these non-game day events. For Oakland to get all the non-game day events, it's going to be competing with Pac-Belt Park, a new A's ballpark, and Levi Stadium, all for non-game day events.
So let me ask you this, right? Okay, and you make a valid point. Okay. How do and this isn't a rhetorical question. I'm not saying I know the answer to this question, but I'm I want to make a point for discussion. How do the Giants make their money?
How they make money? They got a sweetheart deal from the city, and they built their ballpark on their own, but the city paid for the infrastructure,
which is offered in Oakland.
Right. Yeah, but what happened in San Francisco, it was an anomaly. It was like a economic bomb blew up at that specific spot.
And you don't think that could happen at the Coliseum site?
It could, but
you saying it could, what are the chances of it? Is it being given the fact where they're at in the metropolis, in the, what's the word I'm looking for here? I'm drawing a blank. Where they're at. Because here's the point, right? How many events do you happen at AT&T?
There's a lot of events. I don't know the number off there, but there's a lot.
But they don't surpass anything in New York, though. There's no way, because I looked up those numbers. Because the point is, because you're a San Franciscan, native San Franciscan, right?
I'm born in San Francisco, raised in South San Francisco.
Right. Okay. But what was the Embarcadero like before the Giants built AT&T?
I got you. You're right there. But what they did was a whole plan. They got so many businesses down there to kind of work off at AT&T, and that was the catalyst, and it just exploded down there. Now, I'm not saying it couldn't happen in Oakland, but baseball is different. There's a lot more foot traffic, and it works better for baseball. The A's are probably going to do really well downtown, and it's going to blow up. A downtown ballpark in Oakland has a better successful chance than a football stadium at the Coliseum. But let me just say this, though. the best place for a football stadium in the Bay Area is at the Coliseum site. They could have a football stadium there if they didn't have Levi and Santa Clara. Those two are going to be fighting against one another.
But if they were fighting against one another, and I'm going to try to put my former Raiderdom aside,
sure,
right? Because we're going to get into Raiderdom in just a second, because there's some of you I think are just punk asses that I want to address, some of you. But let's put my former Raiderdom aside. Let's say a nice stadium is built, and
sure.
when I mean nice, they built it learning from the mistakes that Levi's did, right? Ingress, egress parking kind of ring a bell a little bit, not as big. Would it really have been a competition if a new stadium would have been built, or would the Niners and Levi's be playing catch up, trying to compete with a more modern stadium that's cheaper, that more people can afford?
Exactly, and the NFL doesn't want that.
Why? Why don't they want that? Because isn't it all revenue sharing?
Right. Why can't they? Would rather all the money go to San Francisco, the 49ers, and then have another venue in Las Vegas. That way they're not cannibalizing Levi Stadium.
I don't know how I feel about that. I really don't, because now, well, I don't know. I don't know if I can agree with that. See, this is where I wish we had phone calls where people can call in. If you guys want to type away in the chat, I don't know if the chat's open. If you guys are following me, tweet me and let me know if the chat is open. You know, is it really cannibalizing the 49ers if they built a brand new stadium? Because they dragged it out, right, up until 2017, right? There was a lot of opportunities. But do you think that if there was a suitable owner that's not Mark Davis, that the NFL wouldn't have seen a stadium getting built as cannibalizing Levi?
What I think is if an owner wanted to stay in Oakland, the NFL would not stop them. If Mark Davis wanted to stay in Oakland,
we can agree with that then, right?
Yeah, if the NFL wanted to stay like that, but their rationale of letting the Raiders move, they could be like, you know what? This way, Levi Stadium gets all the revenue. That's how they can do this in good conscience.
So real quick, you guys are listening to the Dr. Death Show here on YouTube with my co-host Ed Toomey joining me. If we were podcasting on Blog Talk Radio, we'd go to a break right now, but unfortunately on YouTube, we can't go to break. So I know you guys want to take a breather, but stay with us. We're going to hop on to the next subject.
Why don't you do a song? Why don't you sing?
You want me to sing?
Yeah, why don't you do a song?
You want to sing some Britney Spears here?
Yes, please.
Okay. So moving forward to the next topic, I put up a poll the other day, right? I put up the poll the other day on my. I'm sure you saw that poll.
Which poll?
The poll that looking. I don't know where the hell. Here we go. So I put up a poll the other day, and the reason why I put this poll up, I'll tell you what it is in just a second. I got a phone call from a friend of mine, really good friend of mine, right? And diehard Raider fan through and through, loves the Raiders, Oakland born and bred.
Oh, yes.
And he said to me, he goes, Doc, look, I love my Raiders. And he goes, just hear me out. I know how you feel. And he goes, but what if there was like a new team that came to Oakland? Do you think people would pick that up? And me, I said, no, I couldn't do it. That's just me. If you wanted to do it, if Joe Schmo wanted to do it, no, hey, for sure. I'm not going to. And he goes, I think we should. To me, that spoke volumes because he's like the third person in under a month to say something like that to me. And all three people, including you, have been Raider through and through, right? But for them to say that, I said, well, you know what? It's interesting. Let me take that question to Twitter. So this is what I put on my Twitter. I said, if Oakland were to land an expansion football team, such as the Oakland Warriors, would you take them on as your new team? The two options that I had was, yes, they'd be my new team, or no, I'm a Raider. Here's a couple caveats to this, right? I understand that a lot of my followers, all 7,000 plus, aren't in NorCal. They're all over the globe. Get that. And that's why it's not official. Number two, I should have probably put a third option with something like, I'm indifferent, I don't care, or I don't know. Right? Should have. But with what I just stated, these were the answers that we got. Yes, they'd be my new team. 15%. no, I'm a Raider, 85%. Are you shocked by those numbers, Ed?
No, that they're Raider fans. Now, can I tell you my point of view on this?
Yeah, no, totally. That's why we're doing this.
Okay, this is a little long-winded. Everyone buckle up. So first off, this is just me personally, I could not support any NFL team because I don't support the NFL. But
I can agree with you, right?
But there's a catch. If there was an owner such as a Mark Cuban type that was a thorn in the NFL, that would always call out Goodell, who would always be a pain to the NFL, who would always try to make changes for things that I agree with, I might take notice.
You know who you kind of sound like you're describing?
No, I'm not going to describe Al Davis.
I was just gonna say because
what happened was, I really think we're going off on a tangent here. I think the NFL adopted a lot of Al Davis's philosophies of shaking down cities and things like that I don't agree with, and I never agreed with Al Davis with that. Now, if we got an owner such as Stephen Ross who was like, "Hey, we have to change the way we deal with communities," I would have an ear. 2. Now, when it comes to a relocated team, I would tend not to follow a relocated team, but I might if they rebranded. Say the Jacksonville Jaguars were going to relocate. I would not follow the Oakland Jaguars. If they were the Oakland Cucamonga Cracker Killers, maybe. If they were, with this owner that I like, if they were an expansion team with this owner I like, I would listen. Now, my reason for this is Oakland made the Raiders. Period.
I know that's kind of hard. That's kind of hard for some people to believe, right?
Okay. I don't care about the colors or the pirate. That's great. But when you go to Oakland, it is weird. It is just a weird spot where rich, poor, black, white, Mexican, Asian all come together to act nuts and go watch a sporting event. You see it with the A's, you see it with the Warriors, you see it with the Raiders. It is just a weird place on this planet Earth, that place where everyone comes together and acts weird and supports the team.
I want to interject something real quick. I just want to interject something really quick, right?
Sure.
If you have never been to Oakland, nothing wrong against that. I'm not judging you. If you have never been to Oakland and have never spent more than a couple of days here at a time, so if you've never been to Oakland, or if you've only come to Oakland and spent like 1 or 2 days here, I don't think you have room to tell Ed that he doesn't know what he's talking about.
It's just it's a magical place like Disneyland. It's just where everybody
in a very weird way, because as my friend Julie Schloss on Twitter, she said to me, I didn't choose Oakland. Oakland chose me, but it's not just because the geographical location and the lines and what's on the signs. It's the culture that gave birth to the Hells Angels, the Black Panther Party.
Actually, the Hells Angels were in Southern California.
But they also had
they flourished their Oakland chapter, and yeah, I got
they did, right? So the key word you said is
Sonny Barger came up here and made him popular. Gotcha.
Right. So the whole thing is to add to your point, is it's very cultural, right? Just like how the Packers are to Green Bay and the Steelers are to Pittsburgh.
It's kind of like that, but it's a little different. It's where people, it's like Lourdes is for Catholics. It's people where you go there. I'm not from Oakland, but I go there, and you go there and something changes about you. I don't know what it is, but you just become a fanatical sports fan, and you always support the team. And I don't know what it is. And you don't have to, it could be whatever, as long as it says Oakland on it. It could be purple and pink, and the logo could be a big, like, lesbian seagull. If it says Oakland on it, you're going to rock that. That's it. That's the way it's going to roll.
Why do you bring a zinger after like 2 years being on my podcast? Dude, I also got a text message from Julie Morton, my good friend, Hall of Fame Nash on Twitter. Go give her a follow. She goes, Oakland is a Disneyland for misfits.
Yeah, it's misfits, but you know what? To be honest with you, I guess I've had misfit tendencies, but I don't consider myself a misfit or degenerate, and I don't think a lot of people are, but it's just like, you just go there and you have no ambitions and you just can be and just have a good time. And that's what Oakland's about. It's carried over in the A's and it's carried over in the Warriors. And it's just what it is. And I can't explain it. It's just, that's what it is. And that's why when the team's not there, I can't support it because it's not what I've, followed.
Yeah, no, totally. And I've said this to other people, right? Is if you choose to follow the Raiders, that's your prerogative. But let me tell you, I don't like people have started calling them the Sin City Raiders. I don't know what that is. I have no idea what that is. Walking through casinos with a hot dog in one hand, margarita in another, with poker chips in your pocket. I don't know what that is. And if you have come to Raider games, wherever you're from, Florida, California, NorCal, SoCal, wherever you're from, when you come into Oakland for an Oakland Raider game and you are tailgating, whether you're 0-10, 10-0, 3-7, whatever, you are in our world, right? I mean, we can all speak to that because you have all the tents and the barbecues, everything, right? When people, outsiders of, let's say you don't even like football, but you come into Oakland and tailgate, you are in our world, no matter where you're from. You have to openly admit that.
Yep.
With no disrespect to the community of Las Vegas, when that stadium gets built, you Raider fans will no longer be in your world. You will be intruding on other people's world while they're gambling, while they're going to restaurants and shows and clubbing. You are going to be seen as an outsider in a state or a city that you now call home. I don't know what that is.
It's just an attraction. It's another attraction in Las Vegas. It's like Britney Spears. It's like Elton John. It's like Cirque du Soleil. It's just an attraction to get people to go to Vegas. That's all the Raiders have become. That's all they've become. And hey, if that's what they want to do, roll with that. But I'll tell you, getting back to our original question, and if expansion team came here in Oakland and it checked all the boxes I was saying, I would love to roll with that. And can you imagine all like the negative baggage we wouldn't have as fans? We wouldn't have the negative connotation of being thugs and criminals. We'd just be pure Oakland. Because you know what? Truth be told, Oakland, two things about Oakland is that they're not thugs and criminals. We didn't get that whole NWA Ice Cube image in Oakland, first off. And two, the original Raider of, blue collar, tough, renegade stuff, that didn't come from the Raiders. The Raiders adopted that from Oakland. Oakland gave the Raiders their image.
Sorry, you Raider fans, to break your heart. I know you're probably cringing. This is the time where I really wish I had my phone lines open like we did on Blog Talk Radio so you can call in and tell Dr. Death you don't know what you're talking about. My friend likes when I do that. My friend cracks up when I do that impersonation of people. Dr. Death, you don't know what you're talking about, as they quiver and quake and shake because they're pissed off because I'm pushing their buttons. I don't give a stuff. Hey, Ed, there is a question that I'm getting from my friend Julie Morton, Hall of Fame Nash on Twitter. She goes, Ed, ask Ed if he would support the Oakland Invaders.
Yeah, you know what though? The only thing about the Invaders is they would have to change the color scheme and their logo because it reminds me too much of the Chargers.
Right.
But the Invaders would be so awesome. It'd be like, we're going to invade you. We're invading. Dude, that would be awesome. You could do so much marketing with that.
Here's the thing. I want to give my thing on this. I don't know if I could do it. I just don't know. Because here's the thing, right? And I'll be honest, Ed.
I'm going to question you on this. I'm going to get you on this.
No, for sure. Because, here's the thing. As you know me, for those of you guys that have been listening to me for years, right? When I am passionate about a subject and I will say it with conviction, right? Always have been. I've been on ESPN, I've been on Sports Illustrated, I've been on USA Today. I will tell you with conviction. This is exactly how I feel, and this is what I'm going to do it. With this one, I don't have conviction with it. I think it's just too much. As you guys can tell, if you guys are watching me, I'm in my garage with a bunch of, this is just years, right? And someone said, well, shouldn't Dr. Death be put away? Well, this is what I ask people. Jack Tatum, the assassin, passed away, right? You know, God rest his soul.
Yeah.
Are you going to not wear a Jack Tatum jersey anymore if you're a Raider fan? You know, like, see, my Raiderdom, my Dr. Death represents years of my fandom, right? But now that a new owner has come in and has given a new meaning to being a Raider, I just can't wear it because that's a new owner. Now, with that circling back, I don't know if I can take on a new team because it has no culture. It's brand new. It would take decades to create a brand new culture, right?
Right.
Just like it took.
But I'm going to tell you this. You're going to have 60,000 crazy people, new people. I mean, you're going to have people that are like, people that were kind of turned off from the Raiders because of that. Now there's new people coming into Oakland, barbecuing, having a good time. All the same qualities, but the different logo on the helmet and different colors. But the people are still the same. And then what would happen if like some of these players start mouthing off and be like, you know what, we're from Oakland. Get these traitors out of here. Wouldn't that kind of be like, you know what? Do you want that make it feel kind of good and be like, we're the Oakland Invaders, they're the traitors, we're going to invade them. And they totally adopted this us against the NFL. Because you know what the Raiders did? They sold out to get a stadium, and now they're at the behest of the NFL. They have to do what the NFL says. But if there was an Oakland Invader team that was basically double barrel to the NFL, dude, I think I could probably get behind that.
I don't know if I could. I really don't. It would be really tough because you had the silver and the black, right? Minus, let's not even equate Mark Davis into this, right?
Pink, purple, I'm calling it the Oakland Lesbian Seagulls. I don't care. As long as they beat the traitors' butt. I don't care.
You're going to offend people, Ed. You know that?
Dude, I welcome. Get in line. Get in line.
Just so you guys know, you guys don't have to tune in. If you don't like listening to us, by all means.
Didn't Kevin Durant said if you don't like it, don't watch? I mean,
yeah. Hey guys, so just to recap, you guys are listening to the Dr. Death Show here on YouTube. You can give us a follow on Dr. Death on YouTube. And we've been talking about this relocation saga, the different components that are involved over the last 4 years. One of the questions that we raised was, would you support an expansion team in Oakland called the Oakland Invaders, and would you give up your Raiderdom? That's one of the questions, and quite frankly, I kind of wish we were taking phone calls because I'd love to hear it. Maybe depends how much popularity this blog has. Maybe I'll move it over to Blog Talk Radio next week. But I want to move on really quick because we got about 15 minutes before we got to get going. Because there's still a couple things I want to talk about, and it's really pissing me off about the fan police. Before we get into the fan police, some of you fan polices are punk bitches. I don't mean to curse, but you know what? If you can say the B word on radio, I can say it on here. But here's another thing I want to get into before we get into the fan police. Is the NFL a drug? Would you consider the NFL a drug? Because, and I'm not talking about just cocaine, right? Cocaine, pornography, sugar, the internet, whatever. Is the NFL a drug?
Maybe addiction.
Or an addiction. What did I say? A drug. Okay, an addiction.
An addiction.
Excuse me. No, you're correct. Is the NFL an unhealthy addiction? What say you?
Right now, since I know so much, I think it's an unhealthy addiction. Right. I mean, for most people, they watch the game on Sunday, they can turn it off. For me, it was like I had to watch every pregame and postgame show outside of when that's away. And at home games, I was going to home games and then turning on to the radio, then TV, and watching NFL stuff till midnight, and then come in the morning NFL Network. I would actually watch the 7th round of the draft, the Senior Bowl, all that stuff, and then I go to spring training and practice and all that stuff. And you know what? When you take a step back and look at it, that's not really good entertainment. Why do I care about the 7th round why should I care about that? The 7th round draft pick, good for that person getting drafted and he's making his dream come true, but why does it matter to me? The draft? I didn't watch it this year, and you know what? I didn't miss anything. I haven't watched a live sporting event since the Super Bowl, and I'll tell you what, my life has not decreased. It's been increased with a lot better things, family and such, but I do think it can be an unhealthy addiction.
I think with anything, right, no matter what it is, it can be consumed in healthy quantities.
Sure.
Right. What? And I think you're right. Totally. Like watching the 7th round of the NFL draft, you're like, what? Right.
While your kids are growing up, like your kids are just growing up, and you're like, oh, I gotta make sure that the Cleveland Browns don't draft the cornerback that the Raiders want to draft in the 7th round, because if they do, I'm gonna blow a gasket.
For sure.
But my kids are growing up.
But you know what? Okay, and I think that's a little bit on the extreme side, right? But right, no, okay, but and I look, I want to be very candid here, right? Totally, like BS aside. Let's put BS aside right now. Admittedly, I'm hurt. I'm crushed. I'm crushed. And I've talked to you, and we're gonna get a little serious here, Ed. I've talked to you on a personal level. I think I'm facing depression right now. And it's tough. Like right now, I know you've been asking me for about a week to do this podcast. And I've purposely kind of been pushing you aside because I just didn't know if I want to do it, right? Because I'm just hurt.
Yeah.
For those of you guys listening in at home, this right here, to me, it's family, right? That's family I see every Sunday. Those are people that some have passed away, some I've gone to funerals, some that are listening asked me to baptize their child. If you look behind me, my garage, my father and it took us, I counted the hours, took us almost 60 hours to paint this garage together because my father and I shared a fandom. We shared a fandom because the geographical location, not just because the Raiders were in Oakland, but because the Raiderdom spilled into all of Northern California predominantly as our team, that being here in West Sacramento, a kid that went to Catholic school, was a preppy kid, but I was always like a little misfit. And I went to a Raider game when I was 7 years old, and I saw some of these guys here. That's gone. Even if I wanted to go to Las Vegas, right? There's no more tailgating. There's no more people that live in that area by the thousands. They're going to bring their barbecue pits and do things here. There's just no more of that. And just like the fans in Green Bay and the fans in Pittsburgh and the fans in Dallas and the fans in Seattle that take on the identity of their geographical location intertwined and interwoven in the social fabric of their team, it is heartbreaking. I was fortunate to get inducted into the Pro Football Ultimate Fan Association. I got to meet thousands of fans of across the globe, and the Fanatics in Miami, and the Chargers, and the Seahawks, and the Bills Mafia, and I got to experience that with my father. And I can't do that anymore. Like when I have kids, I'm not going to be able to do that anymore because of one man's ineptitude and selfishness.
That's the word right there.
Right? That
he's not a good steward of the team. And that's the thing, is he ended the party when he could. And you know what? He didn't need to end the party. There was ways he could have gotten out of it, but he chose not to. And it does suck. It does hurt. Obviously, it doesn't hurt as much for me as it does you, but
on different levels, right? Because I personally want to interject here, right? Because some people think, oh, I'm not fan enough. I don't dress up like you, Dr. Death. No. People invest differently, right? Maybe I invested in, because I went out of the country, I went out of state, right, to different games, right? You invested your fandom differently, but it doesn't make me better or worse, right?
Right, and it doesn't, but I think for me, I'm more ticked off that I spent so much time and just like, it was just such a waste of time. We tried to get the Raiders a new stadium in Oakland. And you know what? It just seemed like, screw you guys. I mean, we didn't ask for any money. We didn't ask for anything. All we just wanted them is like, hey, build a stadium, make your own money. Hey, we'll help support it with PSLs. We're trying here. I remember when you were trying to get that business group. Remember back then? We were trying to get the business would save our SOS, and you're trying to get the business group, and you're trying to, hey, Raiders, we're trying to do the job for you. And it's like, they didn't do it. And it's like, what's going on? I look back on it, it's like, they didn't have any kind of like outreach. It really, really was sad. That's all I could say. Well, I want to say more, but my friend.
Totally. And again, I do want to, if you guys are tuning in, you guys are listening to the Dr. Death Show with my co-host, Ed Toomey, who has co-hosted with me over the last year or so on Blog Talk Radio. If we were on Blog Talk, I'd go to break right now to give the viewers some time to breathe. But unfortunately, we don't have breaks on here. I want to continue to go forward. There's some fans I want to address really quick.
Oh, I'm going to pull up a seat for this.
There's some fans I want to address, and then we're going to finish off, Ed. How much blame do we really give Libby Schaff? That's one thing I really want to clear up, right?
Yep.
So there are some punk-ass bitches out there, and that's exactly what you are. Punk-ass bitches. Okay? Let's start off with the cool fans, the great fans. I think these are some fans that are just awesome. There are awesome fans that live out of state, or they live here in Sacramento or Northern California. They live in Florida, New York, wherever, what have you. But these fans are awesome. Maybe they can't afford to go to the game. Maybe they have work and they have kids and families to take care of. I totally respect that, and they're deep in their fandom. Many have reached out to me and said, hey, Death, I'm not involved like you are. Can you let me know what's going on? And I say, yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell them, and then they'll tell me their opinion. If it's the same as mine, or if it's an adverse opinion of what they believe. Some say I would still follow them. Great. Respect for you. That's probably about 98% of the people, not just Raider fans, but just people that live in Seattle. People have said, I hate Mark Davis, but I love the team. Some people said, I don't mind Mark Davis. I still love the team. I don't care what you're doing, but that's cool. We respect each other. Right? Am I making this clear, Ed? Just want to make sure.
Crystal.
Cool. Here are the punk-ass bitches, okay? The ones that don't go to games, have never been involved, maybe they have or haven't met me, and then they tell us, like me, you, Ed, what kind of fan we are. There are some that live here in Northern California that don't even go to games. If you don't want to go to a game, you got a family, and I respect that. What I don't respect is when you live here in California, you got things to do, but then you tell us how we should or shouldn't be, what kind of fan we are, how we measure our fandom, the fan police. Especially when you don't come to games during 0-10 seasons, and you don't line up at 5 a.m. when we have Jamarcus Russell under center or Aaron Brooks or, and you don't line up and partake in with us in the community, you can go screw yourselves, okay? If you're going to tell me, if we're fandom, if you're going to tell me I am no longer Dr. Death, who the hell are you to tell me what I am or what I'm not? Well, you know what's really crap is when I see people that aren't even involved, don't go to city council meetings, town hall meetings, NFL owners meetings, don't go to games, but all of a sudden have these sources. People who don't even live in Oakland, live in another state, are trying to leak information out on the city of Oakland when I've never seen them step a damn foot here in Oakland. Not one time. But yet you're an expert. What kind of bullshit is that?
Ooh.
That's crap.
Woo!
We invest in different quantities. Maybe you go to 1 game, Ed. Maybe you go to 5 games. Maybe you go to 3 games. But if you don't go to any games, okay?
Or was 10.
Whatever, 8, 9, 7. If you don't go to any games, I respect that. If you have to take care of your family, I respect that. What I don't respect is when you don't go to games, you make excuses, and then you tell me I'm a real fan or what's not. What's not going to change the culture. When you're sitting in your home in Arkansas and all you have is Twitter and your phone to get involved with other Raider fans, you can go screw yourself. I don't give a damn. Who cares? I don't care.
Yeah.
I've already said, if you're a Raider fan and you live in another state and you don't come to games, you're respectful. You're like, I don't agree with Dr. Death is doing. I don't agree with Ed is doing. And I'll tell them I don't agree with them. I respect you. That's cool. I get that. But when you try to tell us what's right or what's wrong, or I'm real or I'm not, go screw yourself.
See, can I give you my point of view on this?
Go ahead.
Number one, I think I'm the one that came up with the term cultist. So
for sure, and you did. That's right.
So I think there's a lot of people that will just always take, the organization side, whatever. But I think a lot of people just like seeing you get riled up and know how to rile you up. And we're in a point in this country where there's always going to be someone that disagrees and that always tries to rile you up. We can't just be like, you know what, agree to disagree. People in people in this country have lost that and have just become to the point where, you know what, I do not like Dr. Death. I do not like what he says. And even if I think he might be right, deep down inside, I am going to counter it. And I'm going to get him riled up because that makes me feel good. And that's where we're at right now. So when people come up to me and say, oh, dude, you're wrong about the Raiders, cool, bro. You know what? I got a family to raise, dude. You know what? That's cool.
Yeah, no, totally. And I do want to say this. There have been people who live in other states, don't go to Raider games, and they'll say, hey, Death, I disagree with you. No, hey, great.
Yeah.
You want to disagree with me? Perfect. But especially if I know you. I'm talking about people that I know in real life.
Right.
That tell me to my face that they have sources, that I'm not real fan. I need to hang up my fandom. Why do I still have a Twitter account? What? Why do you care?
That's exactly why do people get involved in everyone else's business? I mean, you're not boinking their wife. Why? What makes it? You're not, dude. What? Because you have a Twitter account? Because you're speaking on something? Isn't that like a part of the United States?
Yeah, right. So let's move on really quick, Ed. I want to finish off with this because I don't want to be beating a dead horse on this. I want to finish off with this. Actually, there's 2 things I want to finish off. I want to give my last monologue. But the last thing I want to finish off with is, how much blame do you give Libby Schaff? And I am going to give my point of view on this after you. But when I give my point of view, I want you to interject at some point in time and tell me if you think I'm wrong. But how much blame, if at all, do you give Libby Schaff?
I blame her on one thing.
Okay.
for trying. She should have told the Raiders to get bent day one. She wasted too much resources with Ronnie Lott and everybody trying to get a Coliseum and all this stuff. She should have told them to get bent from day one if they were not serious about this. If they were serious, she should have moved forward. But she was trying, and through a Hail Mary pass with Ronnie Lott and all this other stuff. She got rid of Floyd Kephart that the NFL wanted. She was quiet through the whole thing that the NFL wanted. Didn't make fun of Mark. Everybody was trying to appease Mark. And then she was trying to get, the city and the county all together and stuff like that, get this land deal and all that stuff, and the Raiders had no deal. She should have said, you in or you out? And if they didn't give a straight answer, she should have said, get bent. That's what I believe. That's what I wish she would have done.
See, but then if she does that, right?
Okay.
Is she doing that, she being Libby Schaff, if she says to Mark Davis, get bent, right? My point of view is she doing this for Mark Davis or is she doing it for the Northern California community? Because here's my point of view, right? Because Can I
just jump into that?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Do you think it'd be smart if Libby Schaff signed a deal like Las Vegas?
No, totally not. No way. No.
That's what the Raiders were looking for. You remember that letter that they sent to Floyd Kephart? They wanted all the stadium revenue, and they had this funding gap. Well, where did that funding gap go in Las Vegas? Oh, Bank of America came out of nowhere. It's able to do the funding gap. Imagine that. So
here's my thing, right? Is I don't blame her for not raising taxes. It's not what I like. I don't, because had Libby raised taxes, I would have been pissed. And if someone had said, well, what if it got you a new stadium? Libby raised taxes. Does that mean you wouldn't go to any Raider games? Right? Someone would have asked me, and I would have said, I don't know. I don't know if I probably, it would be tough for me, right? Because my Raiders stayed. I didn't want them to raise taxes. They passed it, didn't take it to a vote, and that brand new stadium was built, just like they did in Las Vegas. Raising a tax on whatever, right? I don't think of anything, right? Because there's no hotels here. I'm not sure. I probably would. I'm not going to be a hypocrite and right, or I'm not going to BS you guys. I'd probably go, but I'd probably throw a tizzy fit. I would say, what kind of crap is that? I would probably go on a crusade up until the shovel hit the ground, and I would say, Raiders, you can get out, right? But here's what pisses me off. Back in 2000, was it 13 when they signed the 10-year lease?
Right.
If you guys are just tuning in, you guys are listening to the Dr. Death Show here on Dr. Death on YouTube with my co-host Ed Toomey. Back in 2013, the Joint Powers Authority, which consists of representatives, the city and the county that run the Coliseum complex, signed a 10-year lease for the Oakland A's back in 2013. In that lease, there was a clause that the city of Oakland, or the Joint Powers Authority with the city and the county, could give a 2.5-year eviction notice to the Oakland A's. That's what's in that clause. If they don't enact that 2.5-year lease, that 2.5-year eviction, then there would be a 10-year lease for the Oakland A's. That was in 2013. Myself, dressed up, as well as my friend Boss, as well as my friend Grizz, we went to that meeting of the Joint Powers Authority that was held at Oracle Arena, and I threw a tizzy fit. I started yelling at everybody being the politicians, and I told them how ridiculous it was and that it was a bad deal for Oakland. It was in 2014, excuse me. I was on video on YouTube yelling at the politicians, telling them it was a bad deal for Oakland. Fast forward 3 years, we're in 2017. That's pretty much, I guess, would call almost a nail in the coffin, because here's the main thing that we're missing, Ed, is back in March of 27th of 2017, just a couple months ago, the NFL asked Libby Schaff what's going on with the A's. She couldn't give them the answer.
Do you know that for a fact?
Yes. Well, yes, because I talked to Larry Reed.
What did he say?
And he said that there's no reason. He said, and actually, if you guys want to go watch Zenny Abrahams, Zenny 62, We asked him, why don't you use the eviction clause on the A's? Okay, and he says there's no need to kick out both teams, right? There's enough acreage on the Coliseum property to give 60 acres, 70 acres to the A's, and the rest to the 60 acres to the Raiders, the rest to the A's. Okay.
No, it wasn't working like that.
Yeah, they were going to give 60 acres to the Raiders, and they were going to leave
62 acres, leave the Coliseum there, and then step aside like 15 acres for a new A's ballpark if they were going to build there.
Right, but they would later tear down the Coliseum.
Yep.
Right, okay. So, for those of you guys that are listening, the city of Oakland's contention was there was enough property on that land, there's enough property on the Coliseum site to build 2 different stadiums, and you don't have to kick out the A's, right? Here's my beef with Libby Schaaf. Back in 2014, Libby Schaaf, City of Oakland, the County of Alameda, and jointly the Joint Powers Authority, they both agreed to sign that 10-year lease, which involved a 2.5-year eviction notice. You made your bed, now you have to lay in it. If you didn't want to possibly face that option, don't flip and put it in there. It's in there. Enact it. The Raiders, the City of Oakland, or its constituents, should not have to be held hostage because the majority owner, the Fishers, who own 90% of the A's, but were very hands-off because they chose not to be proactive. The City of Oakland and the Raiders should not have to be held hostage to the A's.
Okay. Here we go.
I hope that I am painting a clear chronological story here.
Okay, number 1. The A's are making a 10-year commitment to Oakland. What were the Raiders making?
No, they were not making a 10-year commitment. They were using the City of Oakland as Plan B, while the A's were going to San Jose.
Okay, they were squatting.
So,
but wait, let me talk. So, they were making a 10-year lease. In that 10-year lease, if they were going to leave for San Jose, they had to pay money. Regardless, there was money coming into the Coliseum for baseball. There was somebody there. Okay? What were the Raiders doing? Nothing. In the lease, the Raiders, if they ever wanted to submit a plan, they could have done it. They could have kicked out the A's. Boom. 2, it is the JPA that has to agree on kicking out the A's, not just the mayor. So the county and the city have to agree that they're going to kick out the A's for the Raiders.
Yeah, but and I get that. If you want to talk about semantics,
yeah,
right?
No, but this is important. Where was the Raiders' plan?
But see, if you're the mayor,
why are you going to kick out the A's if there's no plan? Was there a plan?
No, but okay, you don't have to kick them out. But if you're the mayor,
you're saying to do the 2.5-year lease to void the lease.
Let me put it to you this way, right? If let's just say, for example, Kevin Johnson, when Kevin Johnson, the mayor here in Sacramento, when he ran for mayor, it wasn't in his job description to save the Kings and do what he had to do, right? It's not in his job description. No one expected him to do it, but he was proactive and used all his resources here in the 20th largest market and was able to save the Kings and bring in investors. He didn't have to do it, but he did it. You're talking about
Libby Schaaf brought in investors. She had that meeting with the San Francisco mayor and all those investors. Where were the Raiders? They did not want to be partners. Where was the NFL? Was like, oh, that's nice.
Well,
we want $750 million from Las Vegas.
No, totally. And I will say this, right? There's a lot of blame to go around, right? But the thing though with Libby Schaaf, she has the power to verbally and not officially, but her word carries weight. She could have easily said, if the Raiders come to the table with a plan and the NFL approves of it, I will give the A's an ultimatum because the NFL came in and said, we want to develop all 120 acres.
Where was the plan? Did they actually say that? Did they hear? It's all word of mouth, but there was nothing official. There was nothing official for Oakland. Everything Oakland had to do, they had to bend over. We're bringing in Floyd Kaepernick. How many investors did they bring in? And there was not one from the Raiders, not one plan. But they had a plan for Carson, and they had a plan for Las Vegas. And they were talking about San Antonio, and they were leaking that they were interested in San Diego. I mean, what are you supposed to do if you're the mayor?
So here's the thing, right? If you're the NFL, and we have to kind of cut this short, but we got about 5 minutes left, okay? So I still give Libby Schaaf blame because I don't think she either didn't get initiative or take initiative, and 2, if you are a leader of leaders, you get things done. And here's where I'm going to not shift gears, but also going to the NFL, right? Eric Grubman, Roger Goodell's right-hand man, and he was in charge of all the relocation stuff, right? How is it that Eric Grubman came to Oakland, right? Every time he came here and he left, he always said that Oakland would take 1 step forward and 3 steps back. At what point in time can we start questioning the leadership of the National Football League? Because you have an inept owner, an owner who doesn't deserve to be in the NFL monetarily, right? Because he does. It's not like he's worth billions of dollars. You take away the Raiders?
Ray, they wanted public money, and Oakland said no. That's what the NFL was trying to shake down Oakland, and Oakland said no. It's as simple as that.
You know, according to your boy Vinny Bonsignore, he said that wasn't true.
What?
He said that all Oakland needed to do was give them 120 acres and that the NFL would come in and invest.
How much is that? How much is just giving it to them?
Or if they made it available. If they made it available.
It was available. It was available. They can submit a plan.
But for how much? I don't know. See, and I'm not here trying to defend the NFL. That's totally not what I'm doing here, right? I'm solely here to spark discussion because I would love to hear from people. Too bad we don't got phone lines open. Ed, my arch nemesis, the clock, is knocking at my door.
You love that saying.
I do. I'm going to give you the last minute to spout off because I got to end it real quick. I want to talk about one more thing, but go ahead, Ed. You tell me. I'll give you your last word on this.
So for Raider fans out there, Oakland Raider fans, I just want to say it's hard. I know it sucks. But for me, take it from me, is take a step back and kind of enjoy life. There's other things out there than Raider football. There's a lot of people, a lot of things that you get to see and do, and a lot of experiences that you get to do. Take a deep breath and look at different things, and then try not to follow the team. And you'll realize that there's a lot of other things else in life to be entertained by. This is just entertainment. It's all this is. When they stop the party, like our Dr. Death was talking about, all the tailgating, all that stuff, when they stop the party, it's just mindless entertainment because that's all it was. To us, it was tailgating. And once they stopped it, it's just mindless entertainment.
And you know what, Ed? It wasn't just tailgating, right? It was fun.
Well, it's the community together and everyone it's all that. And once you take that away, it's just mindless entertainment. It's great, to see people throw the ball, catch the ball, score a touchdown. But in all actuality, it doesn't really change your life unless you unless you allow it to. So that's why I say just try to take a step back. There's a lot of things else out there, and I figured it. I found out, and I'm doing a lot better now. Spinning donuts in a 2017 Mustang GT.
Man, it's so hard for me. And I am not, what's the word? I'm not ashamed to admit it. I think I'm facing some depression, to be quite honest. There's just It's a community aspect, not just tailgating a big aspect. But when we're in games and we're cheering, and you had at the time when C.O. Moore jumped in the black hole, and you see Derek Carr barking off signals and pointing at us in the black hole, and you have the opposing fans coming to us, and you're not. I'm sorry, you will not get that anywhere else. I'm sorry, you're not. Just the community aspect and seeing people every game that you've been seeing there for the last decade.
Yep.
You're not going to get that anymore. It's the communal aspect of it. In March, did you know, Ed, that like just this month alone, there was like 3 events that I did almost every year because of Raiderdom in the community, nonprofits, charities that we were involved with, that now I just don't have the energy to but here I want to end it like, there's one point that I do want to say here, right? Someone made a comment on Twitter that, I'm just a couch fan now. That's the point. I don't want to be one. I like being involved. I like spending my money on a team that represents its geographical location and its community. I love yelling. I love knowing that back in 2014, 15, when we were playing Tom Brady and he was facing the end zone and he couldn't hear, right, in this old rundown Coliseum, and it was so loud, and Richard Seymour came and plowed him in his face, and we thought we got him, but then it went for a 15-yard penalty. And then the air was just sucked out of the Coliseum. You can't feel that on TV. No disrespect to you. You can't. I'm no disrespect. But for those that have watched the Raiders their whole lives on TV and come to like one game and they go, whoa, this is just a whole nother attraction in itself, you're not going to get that anymore. It's just going to be another tourist attraction. There's no history. There's no identity. There's no DNA.
There's no soul.
There's no soul. Sin City? Wait a minute. Hold on. Ed, tell me if this sounds right? Sin City, but it's all about family. What?
Oh, we could go on for another hour with that.
What?
Hey.
And you know what? We can go on for another hour, but here's the thing, Ed, and I know I've talked about you, and I want to talk to you, the listener here, right? It sickens me just to wear any Raider gear. Just the fact that they're taking on $750 million of public funds. I know you're taxing the hotels, but if that defaults and over the next 30 years, you don't raise enough funds because there was a recession and you got to dip into the general fund when your school system and your child health care ranks dead last in the country, I can't be associated with that. I just can't. It's just weird that you have people that won't talk to their mothers, their fathers, their daughters, their family members, but will have unconditional love for a football team. That's weird to me. I can't partake in that. As you guys can see, I don't know if you want to call this fake fandom, because shit, it would be pretty good to be a fake fan if you were me, all right? If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. Now, with as much as passion and conviction that I'm talking to you with, the Raiders don't make me, all right? It doesn't make Ed, but I will say this. I love doing podcasting. And here's some clown in Las Vegas texted me one day that said, you're just trying to get over on someone, throwing people under the bus just to get ahead in your broadcasting career. Hey, guess what? This is a hobby for me. I don't get paid. All right? I don't go put on GoFundMe accounts just to take me to a meeting.
So you're gonna go out. We're gonna go like play a game of catch. Oh, look out! Clayton Kershaw. Look out, Madison Bumgarner. You're gonna take their job. Oh boy, come on.
This is my hobby. All right. What I do professionally, I work in public relations, and there's some big stuff that you at home you're going to find out what I'm getting into in public relations. Now, with that being said, I'm just going to stop that. I'm not even going to go any further. You, the listener, my friends, still love broadcasting. I want you guys to tell me what you think I should cover. We don't have to talk about football. But if you want me to cover something else, I'd like to hear from you guys. I love broadcasting. Football doesn't make me. This is my hobby. I love doing it. I want to hear from you guys. Hey, guys, thanks for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. Ed, thanks for bringing me on here, man.
Yes, I want to hear more Dr. Death. How about Dr. Death sticks his toe in the political waters?
You know, I don't know, man, because if I do that, then I'm going to alienate some group. And then people
you alienated the Raider Nation. Might as well go.
Because I'm dividing them. Because politics, it affects people's incomes, it affects people's daily lives, and especially when you bring in immigration and all that. But I don't know. I want to figure it out. I would love to do it. And here, I've been doing podcasting for my public relations firm. So I'd love to hear from you guys. Tweet me at 26DrDeath. Love to hear from you guys. Hey, Ed, thanks for tuning in, guys. Much respect. Thanks, Ed.
Bye.
Talk to you soon, guys. Appreciate it.